Hey there guys, DMO73 here, bringing you a feature match, another one of my footage that I got from Montreal with my buddy Keith, who you've seen at the channel before. This is the Val Myths deck that I was playing at Montreal, and he is playing a black, blue, green Kaguya 4 list that he also played at Montreal. Neither of us did very well in the event. As you've seen my tournament report, there's already a link to the description, in the description to the Val list and my tournament report. You can check that out. And then, Keith also, his deck is geared for controls, and he played against Priscilla like a bunch. So, but I figured it'd be fun to show you how Kaguya 4 kind of works, as well as, try to show off the Valentina list. So, he's going to be on the play, because he won the die roll. First stone is that Dark Depths. He plays out a Kimono. Passes the turn before he forgets to use the Kaguya ability, which kind of was a mistake. Go to my turn, I play a Horn of the Sacred Beast, get a Kaguya Stone of Sorrow. Reason why we play a couple of this stone was because we needed the blue, and it's nice to be able to scry to set up things like Spinning Myths and see whether or not we needed to search with Regalia before or after the draw, which was, it turned out to be really, really effective. I just happened to not see what I needed. Going back to Keith, after playing the Sacred Elf, he hits the Kaguya Stone, stacks, activates the Kaguya ability, gets to draw a free card, so his stone is essentially draw a free card, which is really nice. And he starts to set up his little combo here to, with the protection of all his additions, and then taps the moon to play the bunny, so now he's up to 3 treasury items, which means that if Kaguya flips, she will have barrier. So going up to my turn, I call for stone. I hit a black silence, so I do have some access to my colors. Don't have access to spinning this here. Spinning this would be pretty good, at least to be able to bring out the Izanagi. So unfortunately, I'm just gonna have to play another Sacred Elf and then pass. You see, I have that spinning this in my hand, but I need to search for Regalia, and I don't think I have Izanagi at this point either. Recovering looks with the Kaguya effect. He probably should call stone here first. He does get a treasury because it's the bunny, which is awesome for him because he can just tap the moon and just play that bunny for free, and give -2 defense to the Sacred Elf. It's not dead, but still pretty nice. So essentially he got to draw a card for free and then play it for free, which is really awesome. And because a treasury came into the field this turn, he gets to do Judgment for free. Now, because he has 3 treasury items, she's going to have protection. She has barrier from everything, and then he just plays that Unseen Pressure to kill the guy to kill one of my elves. I'll float the will in response, of course. And then he plays another thing, so at this point he'll be able to start drawing cards. He can produce will, he can animate his Kaguya, all kinds of stuff. So search with the floating before the draw, at the end of the turn before that floating will goes away, to grab that Leviathan. Go ahead and draw for the turn. Recover. Unfortunately, I have to call for another stone, pretty sure here. Judgments is just a little bit too greedy. No Death Scythe to be able to start stealing stuff. Play the Leviathan. Oh, I do actually go ahead and Judgment here. I'm deciding to try to maybe put some pressure on him, which maybe isn't the best call. But at the same time, I want to try to see what I can do here. Start trying to get those little treasury dudes off the board. Tapping for stone probably would have been better. My hope, I guess, maybe is to be able to kill enough of the treasury dudes so that I can maybe get rid of his barrier, but I don't know exactly what my play here is. I haven't actually played against Kaguya 4 that much, and so my thought is just to try to get those creatures off board, and kind of establish this pressure so that I can maybe swing through as we move forward. So he's deciding how he wants to tap his treasury items here, like what he wants to do with it. He's gonna go ahead and block with the other bunny that I was attacking. I was attacking the first bunny. I just pass. And then before he recovers, I'm going to go ahead and tap for Imperishable, just in case he has some kind of trick play. And so here's where Kaguya gets kind of interesting. So he's got those 3 treasury items up, so he's just going to get to start drawing cards. So he's going to have this kind of natural draw combo going on that curves him out pretty nicely, you know, because now that Kaguya's flipped and has barrier, she, you know, does a lot of work on this side, and you don't really have to worry about that top decking mechanic, because you're just drawing cards every turn if you don't need to use them. So you got to get in this point where you're just a lock. You know, in control mirrors, that's definitely really strong, and as you'll see as this game goes on, against J-Ruler decks, it actually is pretty surprisingly strong, primarily because Kaguya can hit J-Rulers with her ability to give something -2 attack, and so my J-Ruler doesn't really get to stick a lot of damage. So out comes that second moon, so now all of his additions can't be destroyed. He has this kind of soft lock, which is really unfortunate for me, because now he can just start stacking up all these additions over and over and over again, and neg my Valentina so much that she just doesn't have any attack. So he goes ahead and uses Kaguya to call a stone. Looks at the top 2, gets to rearrange it because he hits that Sorrow Stone. Still really good for him because he can, if he really needs to, he can then immediately draw it with all of those treasury items on the board. However, he has to, you know, kind of wait and be patient and see what he needs to do with it exactly, just in case something were to go wrong. Down comes another kimono. So now every single time one of these treasury stacks, it just gets harder for me to win this game. Because even with pumps, I have 4,000 life to deal with. And he's got a -12 attack right there off of the Kaguya. It's not looking good. Not even a Heavenly Gust can save me now because of the fact that he's got that soft lock up with those additions. So I'm going to go ahead and swing in to the bunny. Deciding how he wants to tap things, whether he wants to give them minus or just let it die. He's just going to let it die, which is probably the best move for him, because next turn he can just animate in the upkeep and gives himself some pretty good advantage there. Get that swing in for 15 or tap for a stone or everything or whatever he really needs to do. So we had someone ask about like what was going on with like the strength of the Valentina there in that second. That's why we have someone kind of interrupting us there. I'm going to go ahead and spend 2 for a Wind Secluded Refuge, just in case he happens to like tap for stone, get Black Moonbeam or something like that. Also trying to maybe draw into something that can give me some advantage, like a Spinning with Izanagi or something like that. Or a Death Scythe, also very nice to be able to start stealing creatures and maybe bring this game back a little. Or an Apollo. Apollo would also be really good to be able to block Kaguya, because Kaguya can't, though she has flying, she can't give -2 defense. So with the addition, so if I play this right, and I flip and have the Apollo to be able to block her, we're both kind of sitting at this point where it's like, well, I'm not going to kill you, you're not going to kill me, and the grind game goes long, and that probably goes in my favor. She won't ever be able to kill Kaguya, but Kaguya won't ever be able to kill her either, and we just kind of hit this stalemate. So calls for another stone, hits that Dark Depths. As you can see, he has lots of cards in his hand, goes ahead and passes the turn. My Regalia pumps to make myself a 16/16, dealing 18 damage here. Again, if I had Apollo, this would be great, because I could, just, like I said, block indefinitely. He's going to go ahead and try to give himself as much neg as possible. I'm going to go ahead and cancel the Seal of Wind and Light, attempt to draw a card. And he normally doesn't say anything, but he then is like, oh, wait a minute, I have a cancel spell for your cancel spell. and you know, we just kind of want to show things off for the channel. So even though he kind of already said, okay, we're going to go ahead and let the cancel happen, and then I'm going to go ahead and use Wind Secluded to cancel the space time so that I get as much damage here as possible, to try to get 16 damage in, or 18 damage in. He's going to give him -10, and then I'm going to give her another 8. So hitting him for 12, putting him down to 28. So not bad. Again, still really love to see that. Like, he's not going to animate next turn without having some problems. Then I see that Leviathan. Reason why I like Leviathan is so that I can get him perishable if I need to, like right there. I am vulnerable to Moonbeam at this point, but with, you know, the Leviathan tap and stuff like that, I have a little bit of an advantage. He's going to go ahead and call for a stone. He at least can't kill me this turn. Gets a Black Silence. So he's got a hand full of treasury items there. Lots of kimonos, lots of, you know, whatever he needs to be able to make it so I can't ever do damage to him ever again. Here's another one. Deciding how he wants to tap this here. Place another kimono, so he's up to 5 kimonos. Total of 7 treasury items, which is excellent for him. It's essentially taking care of all of Valentina's attack before she even, you know, pumps up. She's just a 0 attack at this point. And he gets another treasury item out there, puts him at only 1 stone, but now he can do 16. The reason why this is also really good for him is because he can animate and draw a card every single turn, hitting 8 at this point, and they're all protected. None of them are going to be touchable. Gonna go ahead and recover here. Again, Apollo would be excellent right here, and you see I even have that Wind Secluded in my, or that Heavenly Gust in my hand. Problem is it can't even do anything. I call for a stone. I'm going to go ahead and pay 2. Play the Wind Secluded. Keep myself safe. Hopefully draw into something nice. That Heavenly Gust does nothing at this point. I get another bow. Not that that helps me. Just trying to see the Apollo at this point, really. So here's what I'm saying. You're going to see the animate, and you're going to see the draw card. It's just raw advantage every single turn that I can't do anything about. So things are looking pretty good for Keith over here. I think I made a bad choice deciding to flip so early. At least not before searching for Apollo. Goes ahead and swings at me for 15, takes me down to 22. Can't really stop it. Even though she has flying, she's got natural barrier, and there's no way for me to get rid of that. So those bows are just sitting dead at this point. It's going to go ahead and before the upkeep attempt to do space-time anomaly, and I'll cancel it. He's going to attempt to cast it again, still before upkeep, and I'm going to cancel that with my own cancel spell, and then draw a card. And then at this point, I'm going to tap 3 times, sack, and tap a 4th time, all before upkeep. So I'm doing 22 damage here if Valentina gets through. But at this point, he's got a total of 9, so he can do -18. So if I hit here, she's doing a maximum total of 10 damage if he completely taps out to give her minuses. Which he decides to do, and there comes the extra 10 or 6 damage, so dealing 10. Another bow, which does nothing. I have an Izanagi there. I could Spinning Myths into the Izanagi just to put a creature on board. I don't think but I might not have the Spinning Myths there to make that happen, which is kind of sad if I haven't had it at all this entire time. Plays the Death Scythe. Now what he can do here is he can just animate Kaguya and then crash it into Valentina. I have no way to pump it up, and he can just give negs to the defense, so Valentina just dies. So I just lost everything here. Nothing in my hand is going to stick. He can just like auto kill anything that I bring into play at this point, and it's going to be a big pain. Stone's going to come into play. Or after the draw, I'm going to go ahead and search for a card. I'm going to grab the Apollo. So that this time, if I can manage to get Ryula, I have a Ryula in my hand. I just need to try to get to Light Will before he kills me in order to make that happen. Call for a stone. Hit another Kaguya Stone of Sorrow. I believe I choose not to pay for it. No, I do pay for it here, so I'm down to 18. Oh, nope, choosing not to pay for it. We're just kind of catching things. Play the Apollo. Unfortunately, I have to pass. No spinning miss to be able to play off of it. And also no way to play Ryula. So at this point, it's pretty much game over. He doesn't have enough to animate, but he does have enough to draw a card before the upkeep, which is still, again, excellent for him. Again, he can just animate for 5, leave up a bunch of will. He could even, he could animate for 5, tap to put that treasury into play. So he has a potential Bunny that's just a massive, massive creature. Pays 2. Hard casts the Bunny. So now he's got access to a bunch of regalia. He's got access to a grand total of 10. So he can animate, he can double animate, he can do kind of whatever he needs to at this point. And with me being at 19 life, or 22 life, it's not looking good. So there comes the animate. I take 15. I go down to 7. Taps the Death Scythe, so I go down to 5. And at this point, there's nothing I can do. I can search for another regalia here. He doesn't even have to like swing with anything except for Kaguya. He can just draw into his turn, animate, and then do whatever. So I look in one of my deck and I'm like, I don't even have anything that fixes it. So I just scoop the game there, and we go to game 2. So excellent playing by Keith, just completely shut down the deck. So go to game 2. I'm going to be on the play this time, hopefully to see if I can get something a little bit faster. Maybe I learned my lesson and I can grab that Apollo and put myself in a better position there. Deciding what I'm going to try to keep. Maybe this time I can grab a spinning miss, or hopefully maybe even get rid of one of his additions before he gets things too out of whack. Hit that. I don't need to pay for it because I have no 1-drop to play, unfortunately, so I don't play for the Kaguya Stone, but I do get to kind of peek at the top 2 cards, which is still helpful. Keith calls his first stone, gets a Dark Depths here, and unfortunately he has Barrier of Shadows mained, because again, we're playing 2 game 1s in a sense, like we usually do on the channel. He had his deck teched to try to handle Prisia and things like that with Barrier Shadows, and he just happened to see them in this game right off the bat, which was pretty bad for me. As you can see, I have Spinning Miss and Izanagi in my hand, so I choose to save the Death Scythe. It's not really doing much at this point because I want to be able to torrent next turn. So I play the Death Scythe, Spinning Miss into an Izanagi, I get a free stone. It's going to go ahead and use Energize and 1 to play the Moon. So now I can't deal with the Barrier of Shadows until that moon gets killed, which is no fun for me. He's going to immediately grab another moon, using Kaguya's effect. So I have one turn here to try to kill those additions before I get locked out again, which is super bad, especially with that Barrier of Shadows. It's just going to be a massive uphill battle. Calls that stone, gets the Kaguya stone, gets to peek at the next two to set up whatever he wants for next turn. It's his next turn draw. Or if he like draws and then sets a Kaguya card underneath it so he can get 2 cards off of it, which is excellent. And then pays 1 to play a robe. So he's up to 2 treasury items already. I'm going to grab that Apollo so that I can potentially get Judgment and get out there to try to start blocking the Kaguya. Playing Apollo, tap for stone, spinning miss into Izanagi, get to ramp a stone. That's going to let me get rid of his bow. I have a 14/14 Izanagi. So my hope here is that like, Izanagi will put pressure on him and kind of make him kind of stall a little bit. So maybe I can, he'll, instead of playing the addition next turn, I can do this and maybe go from there and next turn be able to flip, flip for 4 and then have the flying Valentina to be able to kind of deal with Kaguya forever and then let Izanagi do the brunt of the work. So he looks at the Kaguya card. He forgot what he put on top after drawing. He, unfortunately, the card that he cannot use, the Millennia Bond. So at this point, he's got a decision. He can either, he's got to decide how exactly he wants to deal with this. He wants to try to lock down something, or deal with the Izanagi, or create a bigger problem for me in the end. So what he does here is he pays 2. Plays the Moonlock. So now those Barrier Shadows can't ever be touched, which is a problem. He's going to go ahead and do Judgment. And then he's going to go ahead and tap 2. I think he taps 2 of his guys to produce Will. To produce a blue Will. And he's going to give -2 to Izanagi with the moon. Because when it gets tapped, it gets -2. And then he's going to use that blue Will just to cast Separation of Body and Soul on the Izanagi. Now I'm thinking about, blocking it here, or like bouncing it back to my hand, but then I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. I need to keep the Apollo on the board so that I can block Kaguya indefinitely. So I just let it happen. Then he replays the bow. So my play here should be to flip, so like tap Deathsight to be able to recover, flip, and then have the flying Valentina being at 4 will. That should be the play here. However, I don't think I do that. I go ahead and call for stone. I'm trying to get to light will just in case I need to play a Ryula or something like that. So at this point, I at least have 2 Ruler's Memoria, so I can. But unfortunately, I just have to pass the turn. So I have that Ryula in my hand, so it's like, oh, I'm safe. Just completely whiffed on that really bad. Should have just flipped and said, to heck with it. I want to maybe try to search for a few more Regalia first. Calls for a stone. Gets another Kaguya stone. Gets to scry 2, which is excellent for him as always. I love that stone a lot. It's probably my favorite stone of Return of the Dragon Emperor. It's really good in a bunch of different decks, not just Kaguya. Because here comes the second Barrier of Shadows, and then I get to feel really bad. So now he's up to 5, so he can start animating. Draw into my turn. And as you'll see here in a second, I'm going to look through my deck and go, well, we're just going to hit a lock here where everything's going to get minused out. Like, I'm going to look through my deck and see, like, oh, maybe there's something I can do here. But even with being able to block Kaguya indefinitely, what it just becomes is he just taps. and taps for stone just to be able to keep replaying things. And it's not going to do anything good. And I'm not going to be able to put in damage, and Izanagi's are just going to get killed and everything else. So actually looking at my deck and thinking about it while I'm searching here, I just go ahead and say that I can't win. And so I actually just scoop. The minuses are going to be too severe. The Kagi is going to just let him keep drawing cards and keep getting him advantage, and I'm just not going to be able to do anything. So huge thanks to Keith for the games. We'll have the deck list for that up later this week. Deck list for the Valentina, link to it down below. Go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, this is Demo73 signing off.